So Monday Night Football, the Niners lost against the Detroit Lions. Really close competitive game. I feel like every time these teams play, I feel like it's always close competitive. If the Lions would have lost this game, I would have been very, very concerned going into the final week of the regular season against the Vikings. But I'm glad they did get the W, even though that defense still is very, very questionable. Brock Purdy pretty much had his way with the Lions defense for the majority of the game. Of course, he threw two picks in the second half. So we'll see what Sam Darnold could do to that Detroit team a week from now. Will be very, very entertaining nonetheless. But Brock Purdy actually suffered an elbow injury and he avoided it, and he avoided a serious elbow injury, which is really, really good, considering the fact that he had that massive elbow injury in the NFC Championship a few years ago when he played the Philadelphia Eagles, and that was really a devastating injury. And a lot of people were surprised he came back as quick as he could, just because it was such a rare injury for an NFL quarterback to suffer. It was even so rare that even MLB pitchers didn't really suffer an elbow injury of that nature. So the fact that he's even still a starting quarterback in the NFL with that injury on his record is pretty impressive, but he has to overcome another one. He was diagnosed with a right elbow bruise with some nerve inflammation, but the injury is not a long-term thing. He probably won't play in the final week of the regular season, which is definitely a good thing for Brock Purdy and his future in the NFL. There's really no point in pushing it at all. So with that being the end to Brock Purdy's year, he finished the year with 3,864 yards, 25 touchdowns with a passer rating of 96.1 and 12 interceptions. So, in my opinion, a pretty mediocre year for Brock Purdy and the Niners in general. Now, the big question, the real question that everyone's talking about and everyone is going to keep talking about until it gets finalized, the Brock Purdy contract situation, the Brock Purdy dilemma. Now, especially coming off the last three performances he's had for the Niners, he just doesn't look like a guy that deserves a top-tier contract. I don't know how you pay this guy a lot of money in the 2025 offseason. I've heard some speculation that some people think that he might take a bridge deal, aka hometown discount, more or less. I don't know if Brock is going to do that. I know he's made a lot of money off the field with endorsements and whatnot, but I don't know if he's going to do that. To be honest, if I was Brock Purdy's agent, I wouldn't want him to do that, just because his value right now may not ever get as high as it is right now going forward in his career. Like, who knows? Brock Purdy could just be a backup 2-3 years from now. You never know, man. Especially if the Niners don't have these stars around him year in and year out, because this is the first year where he played without Ayuk, where he played without McCaffrey, where he didn't really have an all-star team around him, and he looked pretty mediocre, and he forced a lot of balls, and I feel like he wasn't really in a position to be the best version of himself, which is the ultimate game manager, being the point guard of that offense. And when Brock Purdy has to make plays, when he has to make these big throws, it just ends up with how we saw it against the Lions. Easy pickings for DBs and whatnot. So yeah, man, let me know what you think about Brock Purdy. Would you pay him a deal? Would you not? Do you think he will accept a bridge sort of deal? Something like 20 mil a year for like 2 years or something. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. I just feel like we don't live in that era of NFL players not being greedy. Not to say that, Brock Purdy holding out for a contract is a greedy move. You have to do what's best for you. At the end of the day, the NFL is a business on both sides, from the team perspective and from the player perspective as well. So I don't know, man. I just don't see him signing some sort of cheap discount prove it deal. I just don't see it. And I think it would be kind of like a fun question to ask. Like, what if the 49ers didn't re-sign Brock Purdy at all and he just hit free agency? I'd be really curious to see what his market would look like and if he could be successful on whatever new team he would go to. Like, think about it. Like, what if the Raiders were really interested in Brock Purdy? Hypothetically, if they hired some offensive-minded guy, like if they brought in Ben Johnson and you have Brock Bowers and maybe you added a few other pieces in free agency or the draft, I could see that maybe working out. But if you put Brock Purdy like on the Giants right now, it's just a tough case, man. Like, if hypothetically he were to hit free agency, it wouldn't be a slam dunk sort of acquisition. It would really have to be a wait and see on how it goes. Because hypothetically, if he did sign with the Giants, it wouldn't be a terrible move. Like, it could work with Malik Neighbors, Tracy. If Brian Dable's still there, you know, I kind of trust him. But yeah, if like he ended up on a team like the Tennessee Titans or the Cleveland Browns, especially like if he has to go to a cold weather sort of environment where you really need a strong arm QB to make those throws in late November, December, I just don't think he's that guy. If he were to be a free agent, I feel like his options would be pretty limited, but that's just me. You let me know on what team you think would be a good fit for Brock Purdy if he does hit free agency. Kind of a fun, interesting question right there. And yeah, man, you let me know what you think about Brock Purdy, the Niners, the quarterback market, and everything else in between. If you made this far, please subscribe and like the vid. It'd help out your boy a ton. That's all I got for right now. Peace.
The top team in the AFC East will be kicking it away and getting this game started. The Redskins are back deep, waiting to return the kick. And Ivory's hand at the football. He's brought down at the 25-yard line. The defense stands up early and stops the run cold.
Good job that time. You said it, Jim, by the defense. They attacked the offensive line, and there was nowhere for the running back to run the football.
And it's knocked down.
There's a difference. When you play zone, you drop back and you watch the quarterback and you react to the football. When you're playing man-to-man, all you're worried about is where that receiver goes. You try to shadow him, look for the football, and try to make a throw.
And he's taken down, but not until he picks up the first. That is how you draw it up, isn't it, Phil?
Oh, man, a quarterback loves guys that can make catches like this, and they're just so strong. They know how to zero in. They never lose concentration, and you never see him drop a pass. Ivory.